The damp air of dawn mixed with the sharp smell of chlorine. It was 5:42 in the morning, and Valeria had already scrubbed half of the north wing of the Alencar mansion. Her knees ached, her knuckles were cracked, and her back creaked like an old branch every time she bent down. Even so, her breathing stayed steady, almost meditative, like someone who's already accepted that the world won't stop to ask how she's doing. Her supervisor didn't, her home country didn't, and neither did the man who lived 3 floors above her, whose face she had never seen. Valeria Martinez was invisible, but not by choice. She had crossed the border 9 years earlier, with her son Mateo wrapped in a blue shawl, burning with fever, and carrying a diagnosis heavier than any backpack: refractory epilepsy. Her husband, Tomas, had been executed for refusing to hide weapons for a local cartel. She buried him in secret with the help of an elderly priest, and fled that same night. Since then, she had lived from dawn to dawn, scrubbing what others dirtied, washing away traces of lives she would never have. The Alencar mansion wasn't a house. It was a modern mausoleum, packed with sensors, cameras, and doors that only opened with a fingerprint. Its owner, Sebastian Alencar, never went out, never spoke to anyone. He only communicated with the staff through notes on a white tablet he left on the dining table. Clean the 2nd floor at 8. Don't touch my things. Don't look at the cameras. Don't talk. Valeria followed every rule, always. Until that morning. It all started with a mistake, a tiny one. A new employee, confused by the instructions in English, cleaned the wrong bathroom and set off a silent alarm. Valeria, who had stepped into the hallway to grab her bucket, saw the door to the 3rd floor, the forbidden zone, slightly open. It lasted only a moment, a crack in the routine, a whisper of fate. She walked in. The air smelled acidic, metallic, almost electric. There were medicine bottles laid out on a silver tray, white pills, red capsules, one bottle with a Russian label, another with nothing but a serial number. But that wasn't what froze Valeria. It was the blue pill, exactly like the one that almost killed Mateo. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. She turned it, smelled it, closed her eyes. It couldn't be. That medication wasn't what the label said it was. Cold sweat trickled down her spine. She stepped back, placed the pill exactly where she found it, and closed the door without a sound. The rest of the day dragged on endlessly. Every buzz from the intercom made her jump. Every shadow followed her. That night, Mateo asked her for help with a math assignment. She couldn't focus. She kept seeing that blue capsule, the same kind a careless doctor prescribed wrong, triggering a seizure that almost took her son away. It couldn't be a coincidence. Or maybe it could. The next day, Sebastian didn't come down for breakfast, nor the day after. Valeria started leaving his portion of food in front of the 3rd floor door, like feeding some kind of caged beast. No response. Until, on the 3rd day, she heard a crash. A heavy, abrupt thud. Then, silence. She bolted upstairs, broke every rule, broke through her fear. She found him lying on the marble floor, convulsing, foam at his lips, skin pale, eyes rolled back. No one else was there. No cameras, no nurses, no alarms. No, 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 she whispered, digging through the bathroom's first aid kit. She yanked it open. Adrenaline, nitrate, anticonvulsants. Not the same kind Mateo needed, but close enough. She had memorized what to do, how to hold the head, how to keep the airway open without choking him. After 3 minutes, Sebastian stopped convulsing. He lay still, unconscious, but breathing. Valeria kneeled beside him, and right then the door opened on its own, and he looked at her, Or rather, he saw her for the first time. His eyes were gray, filled with something that wasn't fear, but shame. As if being seen vulnerable by her had shattered an invisible wall. He didn't say a word, neither did she. But that moment was the beginning of something neither of them could name. And on the security camera, far from their sight, a tiny red light flickered. Someone else was watching. The rules were simple, clear, cruel. Don't go up to the third floor. Don't speak to the boss. Don't question anything. Valeria had broken all three. After the incident, she wasn't fired. She wasn't thanked. She didn't even get a note on the tablet as usual. Just a thick silence, suspicious, heavy. And a brown envelope slipped under her apartment door 2 days later. Inside was a medical card with her name, an appointment for Matteo at a private clinic, and a folded sheet of paper with one word: "Thank you." Signed S.A. For the first time, Sebastian Alencar had addressed her directly, and it wasn't an order. "He gave you this?" asked Father Emiliano, eyeing the card with distrust. "Just like that, without saying anything? Without talking? Without looking at me? Just the envelope. What does it mean?" "It means you exist to him now. And that can be a blessing or a curse." Valeria held his gaze in silence. She didn't know whether to be afraid or hopeful. Matteo, on the other hand, had no doubts. Does he have robots in his house? Like the ones that spy or clean by themselves? He has everything, son, except people. The following days were strange. Sebastian never showed himself, but now the door to the third floor was always left slightly open, like a subtle invitation. The cameras in the hallway didn't turn when she walked by. The sensors didn't activate. It was as if someone had removed her unauthorized label. Valeria started noticing things. On the cleaning notes, there were new lines. "Don't clean the desk. Don't touch the piano. Change sheets Tuesday, not Wednesday." Details only someone planning to stay locked away would care about. And then one night, she found the notebook.
It was inside a trash bag falling apart in the rain. Small, bound in black leather, its pages damp, the handwriting feminine, elegant, trembling. "They're following me. He doesn't believe me. He thinks I'm crazy. But someone comes in while I sleep. They change my medication. Sebastian is blind. They're killing him from the inside. And they want to silence me, too." Valeria swallowed hard. She read the paragraph 3 times, then searched for a signature. Elena A. Elena Alencar, the dead wife. Officially, suicide. In reality, uncertain. That same night, Sebastian came downstairs for the first time in over a year. He walked into the kitchen where Valeria was making coffee for the night guards. His hair was a mess, his face hollow, his coat far too big for his frame, but his eyes were clearer, less hostile. "What did you see up there?" he asked, no hesitation. Valeria turned slowly. Swapped pills, bottles with fake labels, a dosage just like the one that almost killed my son. Silence. "I'm not a doctor, but I'm not stupid." Sebastian looked at her with something close to respect. "You underestimated me," he murmured. "Everyone does. The ones who clean, the ones who serve, they think you don't see, that you don't think. But we feel," Valeria said. "And I don't forget what causes harm." Sebastian nodded, as if finally accepting that she wasn't a shadow or a threat or a burden. She was a mirror. From that day on, something new began, a ritual without a name. Sebastian left more detailed notes, allowed Valeria into the library, sometimes left the piano lid open. She didn't ask. He didn't explain. And then something unexpected happened. Matteo, playing with discarded electronic parts from the mansion's security team, built a tiny robot with a camera. One night, the little device activated itself in the underground workshop. It recorded Amara, the nurse on duty, tampering with Sebastian's medicine bottles. "Who's she?" Matteo asked. Valeria clenched her jaw. Someone who's scared too, but chose the wrong side. She saved the video, copied the files. She didn't go to the police, not yet. First, she needed proof. And she needed to understand why. Why someone wanted Sebastian to die slowly, why the wife left a journal full of warnings, and why she, Valeria, the invisible woman, was the only one who could see everything clearly. And then she realized something that chilled her to the bone. Elena died because she knew too much. And now, Valeria knew too much. The walls began to whisper. Ever since she found Elena's journal, Valeria felt the mansion breathing differently. Sensors lit up for no reason, cameras turned on their own, lights flickered like someone else, someone invisible, walked beside her. But she wasn't afraid anymore. She had crossed the threshold of silence, and Sebastian had too. "Do you think someone is killing me?" he asked one night, sitting in front of the unlit fireplace, a drink in his hand he barely touched. Valeria stared at him for a long moment, then answered plainly. "I think someone is swapping your medication for dangerous doses. I saw it. Matteo recorded it. And why didn't you leave? Why didn't you run with that?" He asked, more curious than doubtful. "Because you remind me of someone I loved and couldn't save." Sebastian lowered his eyes. He didn't ask anything else. That same day, Matteo handed her something else, an audio file intercepted by his robot. Amara, the nurse on duty, speaking in Spanish with someone over the phone. He's losing weight, says he's seeing things, he forgets things. The poison's working. Soon, it'll look like early dementia. No one will suspect. Silence. Yes, it's done. The money will be transferred in 2 days. And his will already has the forged signature. Valeria felt her heart pounding like a drum. This wasn't neglect. This was attempted murder. "You had a wife, right?" Valeria asked, breaking another unspoken rule. Sebastian nodded. His eyes drifted toward the fire. Her name was Elena. She was braver than I ever was. She wrote in her journal that someone came into her room, that you didn't believe her. I thought it was paranoia, sadness eating away at her. What if she was right? Silence. Sebastian stood up with effort and walked to a hidden panel in the wall. He opened it with his fingerprint. A metal door slid aside, revealing a private elevator. "Come, I want to show you something." Valeria followed, her heart pounding. The elevator descended 3 floors. When it opened, the air was cold, almost unbreathable. The room was filled with screens, servers, analysis machines. In the center, a reinforced glass vault held several classified documents. "This is my personal lab. Elena and I worked here until she betrayed me." "Betrayed you?" Valeria asked. "She tried to leak information about a secret project, Athena, a facial recognition algorithm for military use. We sold it to governments that should never have that power. She wanted to report it. Yes, and she died 2 weeks after trying. A shiver ran down Valeria's spine. The pieces fit. Elena hadn't been crazy. Amara was just one piece in a much bigger game. And you? Valeria asked. I hid behind my money. Let them say she was unstable. It was convenient. And now? Now I want to know whether they killed her or whether I just chose not to see her falling apart. It was Matteo who found the next piece of the journal. He had learned a technique online to recover ink from soaked paper. The day I die, check the piano. The keys don't just sing. Valeria went straight to the main hall. Press the keys one by one, nothing, until she hit the fifth white key on the left. Click. A compartment popped open inside the piano frame. A flash drive. A letter. A photo. The letter was from Elena. If you're reading this, it's because I didn't survive. And if I didn't, it wasn't sadness. It was his cowardice. Sebastian knows the truth, but he'd rather live surrounded by ghosts than face himself. The photo showed Amara with another man sitting in front of a tablet displaying a bank account. The name on the screen, Vinicius Alencar. Who's he? Valeria asked, showing the image to Sebastian. His face went pale. My half-brother. The betrayal was closer than ever. Valeria knew she was deep in something far bigger than she could handle, but she also knew that if she stayed silent now, another woman would die in that house, and she wouldn't allow it. Not this time. Silence had become the enemy. Sebastian spent his nights in the lab, digging through Athena's buried files, as if exhuming old sins could cleanse him, while Valeria moved like a ghost through hallways that felt more hostile every day.
The cameras that once ignored her now followed her relentlessly. Her room had been searched, her phone locked without warning. Even Matteo, who used to play in the backyard, found his robot destroyed one morning, like a message. They were not alone. I told you you're visible now, Father Emiliano warned when Valeria visited him at the church, and some people hate being seen. What do I do? She asked. If I speak up, I could lose Matteo. If I stay silent, Sebastian dies. Then choose who you can save first. Valeria went quiet. For the first time, she felt like her life meant something, like her voice could change destinies. But that same voice, if she raised it too loudly, could condemn her. On Wednesday night, Amara entered the library. She didn't know Matteo had managed to hide another camera, this time inside an old globe. The recording was crystal clear. He has a week left at most. Vinicius already signed the papers. Once Sebastian dies, he inherits everything. And me, I'm off to Europe. You'll get your cut. The other voice was a man's, deep, familiar. Sebastian recognized it instantly. It's the family lawyer, he said through clenched fists, the same one who signed Elena's suicide certificate. Valeria trembled. What are you going to do? What I should have done years ago. Expose them, all of them, with everything, proof, names, even if I go down with them. But it wasn't that simple. Amara still lived inside the mansion, still had access to his medication, to his food, to his water. That same night, Sebastian collapsed. He vomited blood, spiked a fever, delirium set in. He's going into shock, Valeria shouted while Matteo called an ambulance. They poisoned him again. The hospital found no trace of common drugs, but Valeria knew what to look for. She pushed hard, demanded an extended toxicology screen. And there it was. Cadmium, heavy metal, invisible, lethal over time. Who has access to these chemicals? The doctor asked. only authorized personnel or someone who knows how to bypass the systems. Valeria didn't have direct proof, but she had the journal, the recording, Sebastian's testimony, and she had fear. 2 days later, Agent Delgado appeared, a face Valeria knew too well. He had deported 2 of her friends after an anonymous tip. Now he held a folder stained with moisture and authority. "We received a report. Irregular documents, a child with no papers. You violated immigration law." "Who?" "Signed order. You must appear in 72 hours to begin deportation proceedings." Mateo heard everything from the hallway. He didn't cry. He just looked at his mother with those big eyes too wise for his age. "Do they want to separate us, Mom?" Valeria held him tight, and she knew she couldn't stay silent anymore. She went to the hospital, found Sebastian pale, weak, but conscious. "They want to take us away, me and Mateo, because we spoke, because we saw." "I won't let that happen," he said, voice trembling. "Don't promise. Do something. Not for me, for you, for Elena, for everything you pretended not to see." Sebastian closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and for the first time, he looked like he'd chosen to live. That night, he recorded a video. "My name is Sebastian Alencar. I've lived in hiding for years, refusing to face the truth. But not anymore. Today I confess that I was part of a system that poisons, silences, and destroys. My wife tried to expose it. She died for it. And now they want to do the same to someone else. To Valeria Martinez. To her child. I won't let that." He handed the video to Valeria. "Take it where it'll hurt them most. The press." She hesitated. "If you do this, your whole empire will fall." "Then let it fall. But no more innocent women will die under this roof." That dawn, Valeria walked to the local news station with the video hidden in her pocket. Every step broke another chain of fear, of invisibility. She had been raised to obey, to stay quiet, to survive. But now, she was going to be seen, and there was no turning back. 8 hours later, Sebastian Alencar's video was everywhere. Red headlines, interrupted broadcasts, hashtags on fire. Hashtag he confessed. Hashtag Athena Project. Hashtag justice for Elena. Hashtag Valeria is not alone. The mansion was surrounded by reporters, patrol cars, activists. Sebastian, still in a hospital gown, watched the live coverage on a tablet in silence. "What did you do?" Amara asked, entering without knocking. Her voice wasn't soft anymore. It was pure venom. "What I should have done when Elena died," he said, not looking at her. "Ruin yourself? Expose yourself? Tell the truth." Amara stepped back, not out of fear, because she heard something she didn't expect. Applause outside. People didn't want vengeance. They wanted justice. At the same time, Valeria was escorted by volunteers to a legal aid center. There, a civil rights attorney had already requested federal protection. "For now, they can't touch you, but this isn't over." Mateo, hugging his mother, asked, "Are we going to stay here?" Valeria looked at him, and for the first time in years, she didn't lie to protect him. "We're going to fight to stay, with the truth." But systems don't collapse quietly. That same night, a black car with no plates stopped in front of the mansion. 2 men stepped out, entered without ringing, went straight to the laboratory. One of them was Vinicius Alencar. "You can't back out now, brother," he said coldly. "What you're doing drags us all down." "I hope so," Sebastian replied calmly. "I hope it drags every rotten inch of this family." Vinicius pulled out a syringe. "You won't do it," Sebastian said, not moving. "Not in front of her." Valeria stood in the doorway, recording with her phone. "I've seen you. And now, everyone will." Vinicius tried to run, too late. Red police lights flooded the garden. Amara was arrested while trying to escape through the service kitchen. In her bag, fake documents, 3 passports, a USB drive full of encrypted financial data. Sebastian was hospitalized again for precaution, and Valeria was asked to testify. Her voice shook at first, but when she said Elena's name, it steadied. When she spoke about Mateo, it strengthened, and when she described the pills, the codes, the hidden room, there was no fear left, only fire. Days later, the Department of Justice announced a formal investigation into Project Athena. Sebastian turned over all the files, resigned as a shareholder, and with that, surrendered his empire. But he gained something else. One Sunday morning, he knocked on Valeria's small apartment door. His hair was short, his clothes simple, and he held a letter in his hand. "I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. I'm here to say, thank you for seeing what no one else wanted to see."
Valeria invited him in. Mateo showed him a new robot he'd built. Its name was Lena. "It has sensors that detect lies," the boy said proudly, "so no one tricks me the way they tricked you, Mom." Sebastian smiled. He'd learned the truth hurts, but it also frees. That night, Valeria wrote something for the first time in years. A letter. In English. In blue ink. Sometimes people don't need to be saved. They just need to be seen. She signed it with her full name. No hiding. Because at last, she was visible. A year passed. The news no longer mentioned Sebastian Alencar. The Athena Project scandal had faded into the background. Vinicius waited for trial in silence. Amara disappeared after posting bail. Some said she changed her name, others that she simply vanished like a shadow when the light turns on. But for Valeria, time wasn't measured in headlines. It was measured in other things. In Mateo's quiet nights, now without fear. In the drawings he taped to the fridge. In the new medication that no longer gave him side effects. In the robotics classes he attended thanks to a scholarship. In his improving accent word by word, powered by something deep inside him. Valeria now worked as an assistant in a small community library, helping migrant women read forms, write letters, and find the courage to say, "I deserve to be here too." She didn't scrub other people's floors anymore, but she did help clean other wounds. Slowly, patiently. One afternoon, she found a letter in her mailbox with no return address. The paper was thick, the handwriting familiar. "Valeria, I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive myself, but if I can take a step toward redemption, it's because of you. I've started working with an organization focused on tech ethics. We talk to victims, report contracts. I'm trying to build something with what I once used to destroy. Sometimes I dream of Elena, not to ask for forgiveness, but to tell her someone like you exists, that not everything is lost. Thank you for seeing me. S.A." Valeria closed her eyes, felt the soft weight of that signature, smiled. There was no address to reply to, but that didn't matter. Some answers don't travel in envelopes. They travel in what you do with your pain. That night, Mateo came home with a new notebook. "Look, Mom, I wrote a story. It's called The Woman Who Knew How to See." "And who is she?" Valeria asked, holding back tears. Mateo didn't answer. He just hugged her. And Valeria knew that at last someone had named her. Weeks later, in a quiet ceremony, the local government granted Valeria Martinez legal residency for exceptional merit. No cameras, no speeches, just a judge, a signature, and a freedom that had already been hers for a long time. Legality only confirmed what she already knew. You don't need papers to have worth. You only need the world to see you. Sebastian wrote again months later, this time without a signature, only a photo attached. Elena smiling at the piano with a note hidden between the keys. Valeria pinned it to her wall, right next to a sentence Mateo had written. When someone sees your truth, you can't ever be invisible again. Some stories don't end. They change shape. They turn into memories, scars, new paths. That was the story of Valeria Martinez. Not a happy ending, just a true one. 2 years passed. Mateo, now 11, was presenting his first project at a state science fair, a warning system to detect failures in pediatric medications. He named it EVA, in honor of his late grandmother, and he listed his mother as co-author. Because she taught me how to see when something's wrong, to see when someone can't speak, to see what others don't want to. Valeria listened from the front row. She didn't clap right away. She cried first, as if every one of her son's words washed or rewrote something life had stained. Sebastian didn't attend. He was far away, on a spiritual retreat in Mexico, working with at-risk children. He had left everything, except his name. Not out of pride, but because of the weight it carried. Every month, he sent Valeria a wordless postcard, always with the same symbol, a blue flower, like the ones Elena used to grow in the garden. Valeria kept every one, not out of longing, but out of memory, not as a debt, but as a well-healed scar. One day, Mateo asked, "Do you think if Dad was alive, he'd be proud?" Valeria brushed his cheek. "Yes, but not as proud as I am." The boy smiled and ran off to play with his robot, the one that now had light sensors, sound sensors, and a heartbeat monitor. "So invisible moms don't faint without anyone noticing," he said, laughing. Valeria felt a pinch in her chest. Not pain, gratitude, because now she wasn't invisible anymore. One spring afternoon, while organizing books at the library, she found an old volume, Those Who Clean the World. Inside, a folded note, probably forgotten by another reader. "May no one who sees the truth ever have to stay silent to survive again." Signed, One of Many. Valeria took a deep breath, smiled, closed the book. And in that moment, she understood everything. She wasn't the exception. She was the proof. Living proof that even the quietest people can change the world's direction, and that sometimes seeing is the most revolutionary act of all.